Without further ado, would love to introduce our speakers from Flamingo Filter. They are a Paris-based creative studio and an Eighth Wall partner. We have Vincent, the CEO and founder of Flamingo Filter. He created Flamingo Filter in 2019, has been over 4 years since then working in augmented reality. He's really passionate about pushing the limits of AR and creating some awesome effects. And we also are joined by Sam, the metaverse acquisition specialist at Flamingo Filter, who creates content and increases the client portfolio at Flamingo Filter. So I'm going to stop my screen share now and hand it off to Flamingo Filter to introduce themselves.
Thank you very much, Shannon, for the introduction, and thank you everyone for being here. So I'm trying to find out which screen am I going to share. So this one. Do you guys see my screen?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, great. So hello everyone. So my name is Vincent, like Chanel mentioned. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Flamingo Filter. Today we are with you to share some interesting numbers we recently had with our AI experiences on ASOL and on the web. So a few words about us. Created Flamingo Filter, like Chanel said, in 2019 with Jordan Camus, my co-founder. We both had complementary skill at that time. Jordan is a designer and I am a developer. Luckily, we survived past COVID, and so the studio grown. And now today we are 8 people still doing augmented reality and immersive content. We are based in Paris. We do everything in house. We have developer, UX designer, and AR strategist. We are MetaSpark partners since 2020. We also Lens Studio ambassadors, and we are very proud to say that we became ASOL partner this year in 2023. Let's have a look to some of our past experiences. So 2 of them are experiences that we did on social media, and 2 of them are experiences that we did on the web. Like you can see, it's pretty similar, and I think it's very interesting to see that things you can do on social media inside an app, you can do it right now on the web with all the complexity that comes with the web, but still we can do great things and with way more possibility to get and to interact with people than with a mobile application, even though it's on the web, it's on social media, sorry. So the first experience was on the left was an experience we did with Meta. It was an augmented reality ad on Facebook. So how people do access to augmented reality ad and how they use it is when the users scroll down the feed on Facebook, sometimes they come up with an ad, and the ad shows the video of the experience, and the user the ads also show a call to action to the user, so they can tap and try the experience, and when they tap, it automatically opens the camera with the filter on. So people in this experience could try on small gardens and could see how it looks like if they have it at home. The second experience is one we did for the Football World Cup this year for the French Federation of Football. This was on Instagram. The goal of the experience is to have a runner game where people could go through all the stadium and then score a goal, try to score the goal at the end. The goal for the experience was like for them to interact with their audience on Instagram, because there was a contest where if you had a high score and then if you share the story with some hashtag and also by tagging the Instagram of the French Federation of Football, you could win a jersey at the end. So third one is on 8Wall, based on the web. It was also a runner game where you could like move the player with your head, like you can do on social media. So that I think that's very interesting to show to brand and companies that things that they used to do on social media, they can now do it on the web and interact with their audience the same way. And also the last one is one that we are very proud to have done that recently with a studio called Yum. So Yum is a volumetric capture studio, and they had the possibility to have a contract with the LA Kings, which is the hockey team of LA. They scan some of the players. For example, here it's a player called Dustin Brown. They did scan him because he's going to retire this year, or he's already retired. I don't really remember exactly. But yeah, the cool thing with volumetric capture is you can have, thanks to this technology, you can have like a realistic 3D model of a person, and then you can use it in every digital way possible. So here we used it in AR and with 8Wall. And I really encourage you to have a look at what Hume does and you can also have a look to the template online on the 8wall website, and you can really use the template as you wish and try to see how it works. That's very interesting. So now that I've talked you through some of our experience, I will let Sam show you the rest of the presentation, which I think is very interesting. So Sam, it's your turn.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So let's talk a little bit about augmented reality and why augmented reality. So one of the key applications of augmented reality is for creating engagement, and this is engagement with the users. The reason that augmented reality is so effective is due to the nature of the content that can be created and how the user then interacts with it. By blending virtual and physical worlds together, augmented reality opens up a world of endless possibilities for engagement across various industries. For today, we'll focus on marketing and advertising, but I guess this is applicable to hundreds of industries. So when it comes to marketing and advertising, augmented reality has transformed how brands now interact with their customers, whether this be through, I don't know, virtual try-ons, visualizing a 3D life-size model of a car, running giveaways or competitions, or simply creating new and innovative means to activate campaigns. So now we know a bit about AR, we'll see why loyalty and engagement are so important. Loyalty and engagement are more crucial than ever, especially in this day and age. As consumers are bombarded with numerous choices and distractions, building strong relationships with them has become a key factor in the success of any business. As we know, customer loyalty is the foundation of any sustainable business. Loyal customers are not only more likely to make repeat purchases, but they're also more likely to recommend your products or services to others, thereby acting as brand ambassadors. Don't believe me? There are studies that have shown that loyal customers are more profitable over the long term. This is because they tend to spend more money and are less likely to buy from a competitor. Right, now we know the benefits of AR and the benefits of having loyal customers, we can get onto the main point, which is how to gain loyalty. So engagement is the gateway to building customer loyalty. Brands and companies are always seeking new and improved ways to engage with their consumers. Augmented reality is here to help. When customers actively engage with your brand, they're more likely to form an emotional connection with your business. This emotional connection goes beyond transactional relationships and fosters a sense of trust, loyalty, and advocacy. Engaged customers are more willing to interact with your brand, provide feedback, and participate in loyalty programs, which contribute to building long-term loyalty. But why is augmented reality so good at this? Well, if you can get consumers to stop and spend 2 minutes playing a game or interacting with an experience, sharing it with their friends, even entering personal information like email addresses, names, dates of birth, you're slowly but surely creating engagement. Do this enough and you'll have loyal consumers. On top of this, you will have customers coming into your stores to see if there's a new augmented reality competition, wondering when they'll be able to virtually try on your newest pair of shoes. And most importantly, they're thinking about you. And if they're thinking about you, then you've won half the battle. So we're going to look at 2 of our case studies. There are hundreds more that we could look at, but I don't want to send everyone to sleep. And we're going to dissect them with the help of our AR checklist. So this is a tool that we actively use as a team when it comes to brainstorming for a project. We tend to use this as we get given objectives and we get given an idea of what our client wants. And this allows us to stay on track because we often get distracted by wondering how we can add in lasers or explosions, because everyone likes those kind of things, right? Also, if anyone wants a copy of this checklist, we'll happily send it over at the end of the talk. So let's break it down. Intuitive. You have to assume that most users you'll experience have either never used augmented reality, or this could be the first time using one similar to this. So don't ask too much of them and don't put too many steps. If you're asking them to read 4 pages of instructions, they're probably not going to go to the end of your experience. Interactive. It's fairly obvious. We're dealing with augmented reality, so you need to give the user something that they can either see, but hopefully something they can interact with. For the visuals, keep them relevant to the brand or to the goal of the experience. It seems logical, but it's nice to remind yourself. It's the same for the context. I've called it context, but we could call it theme, and whether this be seasonal theme, so Christmas, Easter, Thanksgiving, the brand you're working with could have some really cool themes. And if they're great storytellers, lean on that. It'll help you create great experiences. The final 2 points are the most important ones. Making it accessible. It needs to be easy to access, and it needs to be visible. If consumers or visitors or whoever it may be don't know there's an AR experience, then they can't use it. Lastly, but not least, value to user, probably the most important of all the points. If the user believes that there is no reason to use your experience, then they probably won't. If there are prizes to be won, or there's information to be gathered, or something that they can get from an augmented reality experience, then they'll probably take part. So now we've had a breakdown, we can have a look at our first case study, which is Les Galeries Lafayette. So for anyone who doesn't know, Les Galeries Lafayette is a department store, and it's one of the most famous in the world. They contacted us looking for a means to celebrate the Christmas season with a giveaway, and they chose augmented reality. This turned out to be one of the best choices they made, as they had 35,000 users of their experience and 31,000 email signups, and this was only over a one-month period. So let's break it down. It was intuitive and it was easy to use. Simple scanning of a QR code launched the experience, of which they had to add their first names, their last names, and their email addresses. Was it interactive? It was interactive, but not overly complicated. As soon as they'd entered their email and they'd clicked play, gifts started floating everywhere, and by tapping one of the gifts, they received an instant notification declaring whether they had won or lost. As for the visuals and context, we kept it nice and clean, not too cluttered, and we respected the Christmas theme whilst also incorporating the brand colors. So as soon as the user accessed it, they knew why they were doing it. As for the accessibility, each of the stores, of which there were 55 around France, had a number of codes that were to be placed around their stores. And it came with a little cute Christmas tree with a smiley face and a few instructions telling them what to do. The value to the user, as I said before, there was an instant win. You could win simple goodies from mugs to t-shirts to jumpers to the classic stuff. But anyone who entered their email entered a competition or a raffle, and the winner won €1,000 worth of coupons. So we can kind of see why this one was working. You're giving back to the user, you're doing something fun and something new. And so that's why we think we got a great conversion rate. We're now going to move on to one of my favorite experiences, and one that took a lot of time and a lot of work, but sadly it didn't live up to the expectations, and we'll see why very soon. But firstly, let's have a look at the quick video. So I mean, you can see why it's my favorite. At first glance, it appears to tick all of the boxes. I mean, it's relatively intuitive, and the instructions were very simple. All you had to do was scan the QR code and point it at the billboard. It detected the billboard and launched the animation. So it was totally interactive and immersive. The visuals were epic, and it made complete sense to the user. They understood why they were doing it. I mean, it even had an explosion, and as we found out before, everyone loves explosions. But what was missing? So a major issue was the placing of the QR code, which was needed to access the experience. It was placed directly below the billboard, but in order to detect the billboard, users had to walk 30 feet away in order to get the right angle to scan it. This adds an extra step, and I believe that the users were probably unwilling to do this. The second major issue was the lack of value that was given to the user. I mean, although it's a great experience, and from the people who did use it, they truly loved it, but there was nothing really to gain from it. And you need to motivate people to stop and spend 2 minutes of their day to actually use your experience. Something to add, however, though, is that every cloud has a silver lining. Now, although this experience wasn't used by many people in front of the cinema, the video and content that the brand created after has thousands of views online. So it actually turned out to be quite a good resource for them. So now we've had a look at all of the two experiences. We'll see what we need to take away from this. Firstly, augmented reality is a tool, and it's often missing from marketers' toolboxes, and that's a shame. Secondly, engagement with consumers is the gateway to a successful campaign and developing loyal customers. And if you have loyal customers, you have a successful and a sustainable business. Thirdly, if a brand decides to use augmented reality, they have to promote it. That's part of the tool. You need to put the effort into it. If consumers don't know you've got an AR experience, or if you haven't used enough of them for them to expect one, then you need to let them know. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. And finally, and this one's anyone here who's a developer or in the AR world, they'll know, but this is for the marketers and people in content or advertising. Please don't see augmented reality as a gimmick. At Flamingo Filter, we're seeing more and more brands putting great faith in augmented reality, and they are having great success with it. Thank you for taking the time to listen to us today. If you're interested in finding a bit more about Flamingo Filter and what we do, then feel free to send us an email. I think we've already posted a link to our brand new immersive website. But if not, we'll put that in the chat in a minute. And on the final slide, for anyone who is curious and seeing AR and volumetric capture in action, scan the QR code for a surprise. Thank you.
Awesome. If we actually go back to the last slide, let's just take a moment to try that out. I'll give everyone like 2 minutes to do that. Their website is absolutely amazing. If you have like your headphones on or audio on, it's even better. But yeah, maybe 2 minutes, try out the experience. I tried it out yesterday. And I would want you guys to try it out. I'm gonna try it out again. Okay.
I'm sorry, I think it's in French. The text on the volumetric capture. I didn't record it in English. That's
the access the camera part is in French. The rest.
But the thing I'm saying is also.
Oh yeah, you are. It's okay.
Yeah, but
What are you saying?
I'm just saying my name and what I'm doing, and then if you want to click here, it's LinkedIn, and you can add me as a contact as well.
That's so funny. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean still work in progress. I mean that's like
Tiny Vincent, and then I see the LinkedIn pop up now, and then there's a call to action to the LinkedIn.
I think it's very fun to have yourself as in the volumetric capture, and you know, we've been doing AR for like since 2019 now, and sometimes you kind of sometimes it's really repetitive, especially when we work on social media, and you kind of like sometimes lose the excitement of doing AR. And then since we work with you and now with Extensible, they are based in Paris as well, and we did volumetric capture, then we found that like this new way of using new digital assets into AR, and that's make it very, very fun. And you can share it with your friend, and then they will place you in all these awkward rooms and places. Yeah, so that was very fun. I mean, Yeah.
That's really interesting. I've seen people do like image targets that bring up their LinkedIn or something, but this is a bit more unique for sure. I think it captures your attention really quickly.
Yeah.
That is cool. Thank you for showing us that. And we have a bunch of questions to share. So yeah, we can move into the Q&A if everyone's kind of done trying that example out. So again, take your phones out and scan the QR code if you would like to submit a question or upload a question. And I'll also drop that link in the chat as well. But we have a few questions already in Slido, so I would like to probably start with a few of these first. Here's the link in the chat again. So either Vincent or Sam, whoever wants to take this question. And again, participants in the meeting, if you would like to unmute yourself and either clarify your question or add more context to your question, feel free to do so. But we have this question from Anonymous. What, if any, specific analytics are applicable to AR experiences when compared to normal web app experiences? And do marketers understand these?
So I'm gonna take this one if you want some.
Yeah, of course.
So we still have we still use the old I would say Web 2.0 kind of analytics. We don't really have immersive website yet analytics tools that we could use. I guess maybe there is something online but we didn't really check it out. But what we tend to do is track as many events as we can, and especially the events that are the most important for us, not necessarily for our clients, but for us, is to see how many people dropped because of the camera pop-up, or at the beginning of the experience, how many people do we lose because of that. And generally it's between 5 to 10% of people that we lose because of that. So it's it could be considered as a big number, but for augmented reality, and as of before we needed to download applications, then it's not that big of a deal right now. And for our clients, what they want to see generally, it's just number of views, people registered, and if people register, why and why not why they didn't register. So that's the kind of things we need to tell them and try to explain. Yeah. So generally we have on the two last games we did, the two kind of the same as Gary Lapet game we did, we lost few people, just very few. I think we lost maybe it was I think 10% between the number of unique views. We use Google Analytics, and the Google Analytics can tell you who are the unique visitors, and then you can compare that to the people registered, and unique emails as well. Or with you have to kind of clear a little bit your database to remove the people that register with 5 or 10 different emails. You always have this kind of prayers and stuff, and then you can compare. And then we don't lose a lot of people, and that's very interesting to see that people like to play simple experiences, and they really they have something to win. So yeah, I don't know, maybe I say too much, but yeah, we use Google Analytics for the things, and then we track events.
No, that was not too much information. That was great information. Kind of want to add on to that. Like you said, people, you had a really good dwell time. People were staying through. And, I think another thing that people look a lot is click-through rate or impressions, number of views. Which one would you say is the most important to brands?
So the dwell time is very important. And also something we did with our last experience is we allowed people to replay. And before that, we generally don't do that. We didn't do that. And then we saw so on the last experience, the maximum replay was 4 times. And in general, I don't remember exactly the name of plays, but we had 3.23 plays per people registered. So that means people tried until they won. So that's very fun to see that they want to try and they really want to play. And it's not just they clicked and they just did, oh, okay, it's bullshit, and then I'm not playing it anymore. If you give them something to win, and if the experience works, even if it's simple, people will play again. So the average time we had, like, it was like 1 minute with that experience, but the game itself, it was very short, just because people played again. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. The next question we have is, why are AR experiences more valuable to brands compared to other types of communication? Are there any like data or metrics to support this?
So the one reason I think is why it's more valuable, since compared to other type of like just simple web game where there is no AR but still some animation and something, it's because it's fairly new. So I think they like to show to their user that they do things that are new and that are different from what people are used to do. And right now that we have some nice trackers like the sky segmentation that we have on 8-wall, or like face tracking, plane tracking that works very well. I think it's also interesting to have game that can literally like just give you a moment of fun, which is completely different from what you are used to do. You know, it's not just having the camera and placing an object here. It's like you can draw things on the sky, or, you know, things like that. And I think that's very interesting. And then I think I lost the question. What was the question first? Sorry, I don't remember. But
Yeah, are there any like data to support that AR is more valuable to brands than other types of communication?
Yeah. So the data, we try to build the data ourselves because there is not much data online. But there is on all like website for like from 8-wall, from all the companies that build technology, also social media company. So I know Snapchat are sharing a lot of data. They also share some use cases like 8-wall does, like Facebook also doing that. So I think that's the place where you can find your first the first data before like building your own. I think it's when you have the chance to be able to build your own data, that's where it's very interesting. And I had a chat with a guy in Paris who is doing like he's doing ads on social media. It has been for just for the market of restaurants. They are like a how do you say, marketing agency for restaurants. And so they have been doing ads on social media for a long time now, and they were able to like really track like between the amount of like what their clients are putting on social media with them and how many followers they can get with 10K, how many like interaction they can get with 10K, how many views they can. So they did all these data, and it took them a long time. But and right now we don't really have that for augmented reality. So or maybe some companies have them. I think bigger companies might have them, or like bigger studios and that have been doing AR for a long time, they might have this kind of data. But if you are able to build this kind of data and show that to your clients, like if you put like 20K in an AR experience and you do like a little bit of ads and a little bit of like emailing, I don't know, you will have like that amount of views or that amount of people who register and stuff like that, you know. So yeah, but I think you have to build that by your own for now.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think that AR is very new. I mean, I love being in the space because every month there's a new update, and it's very, I guess, novel. And I think a lot of people are still getting used to it. And I think when we see with technology, usually user adoption with any new technology, simple is best, right? Because they need to be able to connect something they're used to with something new. You know, that's why face effects are really, really simple and can be gimmicky, but they're the quickest way to user adoption. And people don't know they're using AR actually. A lot of times I notice when people see the real-time AR, they actually don't know it's AR. They think it's like animation and whatnot. So I think it's really interesting how users perceive the use of AR, with getting them to use it without being aware that they're using it is really important. And I loved your data points about the restaurant industry. That's a big one too. I heard people talking about using it for like menus. I don't know, like, you know, so that sounds really fun. Thank you. I think Jason said it's difficult to support decision-making with brands that see it as a gimmick to demonstrate it's real and valuable, that these data sets are needed. Can 8-wall help with this? Right now, I think you're able to plug in your own analytics. That's something that we can look into and supporting more analytics, but I believe we have like views, number of views, historical data for that. But I guess that kind of leads us into the next question, actually, is what are examples of AR being a gimmick, and how can we make sure it doesn't become a gimmick?
It has to have a purpose. Before, if you're in contact with a company who thinks it might be a gimmick or who wants to use AR, you have to work out what they actually want it for and what their goals are or their objectives are. And from this, you determine your KPIs, and you have to fix something that's relevant to AR. AR is not the direct link between sales and someone who's used an AR experience. You may not be able to make that link, but you can make the link to footfall in a shop. You can make the link to engagement times. And we all know that if you're increasing engagement times, then they're thinking about your brand. But convincing someone who thinks it's a gimmick is a very, very difficult thing to do. You have to show them, which is why we're thankful that our Gallery Lafayette had a wonderful conversion rate. Or you've got to be lucky enough to fall on someone who just thinks it's really cool and wants to try it. And once they've tried it, you have to knock it out of the park and create something that works.
Awesome. Yeah, that was a really good question and a great answer to Sam. Especially like some people might be sold on AR, but they're not sold on specific AR features as well. That's what I've noticed, like VPS for web or visual positioning system. Not everyone understands the power of a location-based experience. I know a lot of partners, they have to do their own R&D and create experiences just to show clients as well, because it's so new. They don't understand this technology because, you know, with AR, there's lots of different features. There's even maps as well that is a little bit underneath. So I definitely, we're in the precipice and we're all learning together, which is really amazing. Yeah, and then I'll go into our next question as well. Let's see what that is. Do you see WebAR being a good engagement tool for all audiences, or is it a great tool for certain audiences, maybe like Gen Z, who, you know, have lived through or were born with the internet?
Actually, I would say it's even better for generations that are older than Gen Z, in my opinion, because they tend not to like go on the web. They like to stick on social media, I guess, for now. And now that we do this this like try with volumetric capture, we work with people that that might seem kind of old for the technology, I would say, but like people like it. But it's also very it's the thing with the web is like you can literally like have your experience tested by anyone, because anyone that has a phone does have an internet browser, and then, you know, so can have like some users might have like 60 years old, they might have 17, 15, I don't know. Anyway, so you really have to if you, I mean, it's also always depend on your the audience of your brand that you work with and stuff like that, but you really have to like think it very simple, make it simple. Like that's the first goal when you do an WebAR experience, and I'm not sure we are good at that and do that all the time. But that's make it simple. Like, you know, it's when you do an experience on the web right now, it's not meant to last 10 minutes, you know, it's meant to be very short. You want to engage the user directly, and then you have to do something that is fast and that is easy to understand. And I mean, that's something which is cool with social media. It's that the file size, when I'm not sure if you're all aware of how AR works on social media, but then you have to build one big zip file and then they will process it on their own. But like on Instagram, you are limited to 4 megabytes, and on Lens Studio, you are limited to 8 megabytes, plus maybe a surplus right now, but still it's small. But the cool thing with that, it pushes you to like optimize everything. And then it's even sometimes when I've talked to people working with Spark AR, and they were saying like when they do ads, it has to like no, I was people from Snapchat, sorry. So when they do ads with filters, they have to have filters that loads very fast, because if it doesn't load instantly, people will just like move to the next and scroll the feed of effects. So even if they are allowed to do 8 megabytes, they will tend to stay under like 2, or if they do an ad, because they need people to have like this blazing fast experience and access it. So if you do the same with the web, and we always have to stay in mind when we do the web, we are unlimited in terms of size, kind of. If we want something that is accessible very fast by a QR code in a shopping mall or something like that, it should be very fast to load.
Yeah, I think that's something a lot of people don't realize too, right? They want to create like a very robust experience, but then the user experience comes first, and that comes with the load time for sure. And that kind of brings me to my next question as well. How would you compare like 8th Wall WebAR versus platforms, social media platforms like Snap, Spark, or Effect House, aside from, like I guess the being it in a platform and everything? Can you talk more about that?
Yeah. So I'm gonna split that question in 2 points. The first one is 8th Wall, and the second one is in web in general. So the first one with 8th Wall, it's very impressive how the tracker works, and they works very well, which help us to do experience like if they were hosted on a mobile application, which have like a lot of more computing power than web right now, and some capabilities that we still don't have on the web. But so yeah, that's one thing to compare. And then when you compare to social media right now, we can do the kind of the same experience right now. There is nothing to be ashamed of compared to like social media AR experiences. And the cool thing now, if I go to the second part of the thing, is like we are based on the web, and that's the coolest part. And that's also the most horrible part. So the coolest part is that we can do forms, we can track all the data, so brands, they love it. Also, they love to be on their own website. They are not on Instagram, they're not on Snapchat, they are on their own website, so they do whatever they want to do and they own it. So that's something that brands love. So that's the cool part of being on the web. And then the worst part of being on the web is like you have to do a lot of work that social media do for you. For example, the cross-platform, being cross-platform is like one of the biggest pain points of the web right now. So if I try generally, I would say like maybe 60 or between 60 to 80% of the time, I'm not sure, but like when I try an experience, when I try a feature on Spark, or when I try a feature on Snapchat, generally they've tried it, they know it works. Playing a video, when you play a video on Lens Studio, they know how to play a video on Android, on iOS, and when you record, you have the sound, of the video. But if you do that on the web, then if you record, but you might not have the sound because the sound is not, you can't record sound from MP4. I think if you're on iOS or Android, I don't remember which one, but so the complete process of having your experience to work is way more difficult on the web than on social media. Yeah, so that's the cool and bad point.
Yeah, thank you. I totally agree with everything you said. I definitely think that there are pros and cons to it. And I think this next question from somebody actually kind of relates to this last question, might be a bit more specific. Not sure if you're able to, if you have the answer, but what is the way to share links to AR experiences through social networks, for example, Facebook? They've experienced a problem where through the Facebook browse doesn't allow them to use the camera. Have you experienced that?
Yeah, I know that just browsers instead of application, they might not be like the latest version, or they might not be like the version you need to be able to use AR. But I know, for example, on the browser on Instagram and Facebook, I think they updated them like 1 year ago, or maybe 2 years ago. I don't know, to be able now to have to leave augmented reality experience through them. So or maybe before that, I don't remember. I think you can leave I'm sure you can leave AR experience through the browser of Facebook. Sorry, I know we had that issue with a client in 2019. I think it was saying like, oh, the experience will be only shareable through a QR code, and then we launched the experience, and then actually it was shared on social media, and then we didn't realize it wasn't working on Facebook at that time.
Yeah, Maurice, you have a question or comment or follow-up?
No, I want to comment a little bit this. This question was about that. For example, I create experience Okay, it's a link to some web page. When I shared this link on Facebook, in Facebook app, it's most of the time it's open this link on Facebook browser. It's default browser, and then in this default browser, they not allow to get access to phone camera, and there is a problem of this. I don't know, maybe there is some tips and tricks how to manage this, or
Do you have a certain device? Is it iOS or Android that you see this device problem on?
I use Android, and there is this problem, but I think it's also on Apple.
Okay, I don't know if I would love to connect you to Evan or Ian, one of our developer support engineers, who can help you answer this question a bit more, because we would want to help you and look at your issue.
Okay.
Even the developer Slack.
Yeah, I think it works on Facebook browser on iOS. Actually, I think I've tried that, but I'm not sure. I don't remember. But something I know was like kind of because at the beginning it wasn't working. And I know I told you did that kind of tutorial where you showed people to press on the top button, then open with Safari. They showed that on. I think I've seen that experience, like I think maybe 2 years ago, something like
Yes.
that. Well, yeah.
Actually, XR Plus, French company. I see that they did this kind of stuff. They show this pop-up windows and press this and do that, but it's anyway, it's complicated. Now I'm just curious, maybe there is some way around, but okay, if it's
I'm
not
not sure, but I think now Facebook browser support the WebAR experience, but I'm not 100% sure.
okay, need to check. It was some half year ago, then it was not working, but okay, maybe. Thank you.
You can send me a message on the Slack of April, and then we can try if you have like a test link or something.
Oh yeah, Vincent is like our honorary developer support engineer. He answers questions in the Slack, and I'm like, what is he doing? But that's great. I love it. A lot of you guys are. I know Mao answers questions and Zhao as well. Like, you guys are awesome. I love it. But yeah, I guess we have 10 more minutes left. Would love to get a few more questions in. So you showed the Gallery Lafayette experience a little bit and talked about the AR checklist, but can you take us more detailed, kind of the user experience end to end, starting from scanning the QR code, like how do they access the QR code, and then to like the conversion?
If I can go back to like the slide. So they had this like little like Christmas tree with a QR code printed on the cardboard, and they had like many of them a little bit everywhere in each of the shops. So that's how people get to know about the experience. And then once people scan the QR code, they arrive on the first screen that we can see on the animated video on the left. And once the prompt, so there was a small like 3 lines of text that tells them like how it works. And then they had to enter their personal information. They hit play, and once they hit play, it's directly open the camera, and we use the plane tracker to place the gifts around the users. And they just had to tap on one of the gifts, and it opens like an animation on the screen. We didn't do it in 3D. It was just like a 2D layers. That's open the gift and tells them if they won or if they lost. It wasn't like an instant win. They had a random chance of winning. And actually, yeah. And so if they won, they were already, because they gave their personal information, they were already like registered to the global competition for the 1,000 euros coupons. That's what it says on the message. You lost, but you still have a chance to win like 1,000 euro coupons. But if they won, so it's another pop-up that we don't see on that video, but it says, oh, you won, then you have a code, and then go to see someone in the shop, and they will give you like your goodies. and plus you are at the same time registered to the global experience, global lottery. Sorry.
That's awesome. Thank you for going on detailed more. And so the information collected, was it just the email address? Were they collecting more information? Like what are they interested in collecting at this time?
This one was like, I think, name, last name, birthday, and email. And then that's it. The last one we did was just, I think, name and last name and email. I mean, that generally just they're really interested in the emails, and the rest is just about the legal and stuff. They need the name and stuff like that to do a giveaway. And we also have like another game, but it's not it's not AR game, but it's web-based, going on in France in the Orangina cans. When you scan, like there is a QR code, and then you also have to register your information, but only if you win. So we had like, I think 900,000 right now. I think we will be close by 1 million today users, but we only had like 108 and 130 winners for now, something like that. Yeah, because they give away some like places for how do you help me on that, Sam? Places for
a theme park.
Yeah, for theme park. Thank you, Sam. That's my cheat code. Yeah, and you know, because so I'm very proud of working with Sam, and then Sam is from England, so he speaks English very well. But he has also lived like half of his life in France. So when Sam speaks French, he has a fluent French accent, and when he speaks English, he has a fluent English accent. So that's very fun. But anyway. I don't remember what I was saying, but yeah, they are most interested in, and also for this Orangina account, they just get emails, like name, last name, email. That's mostly. I know some people that they save the IP address and all this stuff, but we never had to do this stuff.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Some people are like worried about that, but that's good to know. It's just email and name, and for legal reasons. Awesome. And then kind of going into that, it could be the Gallery Lafayette experience or the Avatar experience, but what was the hardest part of building either experience for you guys?
So building Gallery Lafayette wasn't hard technically, so this one was okay. But like the hardest part for the other one, for the Avatar project, was the tracking of the image, because it's 36 meter long. It's not straight, it's curved, and also it's not printed on paper, like it's printed on like a thin plastic images, because they have to have the light go through, because behind it there is glasses, so people walk behind it, so they need the light. So there was all these details that we had to work on, and also something like, I don't know if we can say it, but like I think a few days before it went live, it went like the images went all to the top of the Avatar production team, and then like 5 days or like, I don't know, 1 week before they decided to change the image that was already printed on the building. But yeah, that was the most technical things, and also we did use image tracker as well as plane tracker at the same time, which is, I think, one of the biggest strengths of A4 as well, is to be able to use the two. I think you can do that on social media, maybe with Snap, but I'm not sure. So that's very interesting to be able to have people start something with an image, and here you can see on our video, we just look out, we just leave the image, and then the things keep being fixed on the ground and not go like everywhere. That's very, 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 very good for our image tracking experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I can relate using image tracking or any type of like QR code on a really big poster or screen. Doesn't always work as planned for a live event. For sure. So that's interesting. If you had to change that, like how the way people accessed it, how would you guys have changed that?
So they wanted to do one thing before that. They wanted to do like clean tag on the street. I don't know if you know what is clean tag. Is like they use I don't know, they clean the ground as so it shows the shape of like a QR code or something like that. Yeah, it's called clean tag. They wanted to do that, but I don't know why they didn't do it. So the thing is that people, when you see the big image and you are very far away from the place where the QR code is, because the QR code was just below the image on the screen. But like it's a 36,000 meters long image, and even if the QR code is like 1 by 1 meter or something like that, it's still very small. So I think people just passed by and did not really scan it. But actually, like Sam said, it was more like for RP experience, like press relation, just for have some visual for the brand and stuff. So in that case, it worked very well. And it was very interesting for us to be able to work with this kind of brand and with this kind of project. So yeah, it was still a very interesting project.
Awesome. Thank you for answering that question. It looks like a really fun experience. And like Sam said, everyone loves explosions and the visuals are chef's kiss. Awesome with that. But yeah, thank you so much for answering all those questions. I think that we can wrap up a bit now.